Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. You didn't get her fired, OP. Karen's behavior, and its effect on her employer's reputation given she was wearing their uniform, and her boss's reaction to information about what she did is what got her fired. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen wants refund, leaves without it anyways. Hi all, today's my BF's 33-year-old male birthday, so I cruised through Starbucks on my way home from work about a half hour ago to get him a vanilla latte and a cake pop. I usually mobile order, so I park and go wait for my stuff in the store. There's more than a few people in line and/or waiting for mobile orders, and the drive-thru line is wrapped around the building, so obviously it's going to be a little bit of a wait. Here enters our Karen. She comes in and is standing by the end of the counter where everyone else is waiting for their drinks and starts getting huffy. She loudly asks why no one is taking her order, and I point her over to the registers. Off she goes to order, and I missed some of the convo during the interaction due to noise, but I heard, "You will refund me right now, young man. I do not frequent establishments infested with gays." The barista said, "Ma'am, I'd be more than happy to refund you if you promise to leave the store and never come back." This lady went postal and stormed off out of the store. I work at McDonald's. I've seen more than my fair share of Karens, but this one had me in total disbelief. I couldn't believe people like this existed around me. Karen had her work jacket, bag, and scrubs on, loudly advertising that she works for hospice in my county. As luck would have, I have a close friend who's a traveling hospice RN. When I told her about it, she immediately knew who I was talking about and said, "My boss has just been waiting for a reason to fire her," and she then told her director about the altercation at Starbucks. Literally, F you, Karen, and the high horse you rode in on. Enjoy being unemployed and blacklisted from all in-home care companies, not just hospice. Mom and Aunt said I was an a-hole for calling my friend because I knew it could lead to her loss of employment, and that's 100% why I did it. The sweetest part, she left without the refund. And our second story. Oh no, sir, he'll just keep doing what he's been doing. After becoming burned out being a tech guy, I had an opportunity to work in a special program in a completely unrelated field, but one that made use of my secondary set of skills. I joined as a member of the department and, through a series of hilariously cringy actions by the head of the department, ended up being assistant to the director who replaced the director that hired me. He and I got along swimmingly, and we built the entire department to not be a money pit like it was before. Our time clock is web-based, but our internet connection's iffy at the best of times. Sometimes punches go missing or don't even get recorded. I asked for permission to have access to edit punches so the main office, that took forever to make edits, didn't have to deal with it. This was granted and things shaped up even more. As assistant director, I had a guaranteed 40 each week, but was hourly and not salary. Because of the frenetic pace of what I do, punching the clock can be tricky as I do lots of work before and after scheduled time. I do not mind this because my days are pretty easy in general and my boss and I are very casual in interaction. He trusts me and I wouldn't dare betray that trust. My erratic clock punches began to accrue overtime, and the CFO caught wind of this and gently told me that I cannot get overtime unless it's an emergency or crunch/busy in our industry. After talking with my boss, we decided to allow me to edit my times to get the straight 40 to appease the CFO. 3 years pass and I asked for a raise. Hey, I'd been comfortable, but 3 years without a raise seemed a bit much. The CFO grants my raise but tells me that I cannot edit my times, that I have to punch in and out like everyone else. I explain the situation to him, but he's old and set in his ways and says that this is the way things are. I tell my boss, who's not happy about this, but we come up with a malicious compliance plan. I clock in like everyone else with a few minutes before start and a few minutes after for end. These few minutes add up, and before you know it, I'm getting at least an hour extra per week. The CFO calls me and says, "Hey, you can't get overtime." I asked him on speaker with my boss in the room, who also said hello when I answered, if he wanted me to stand at the clock and wait for exact times to clock in and out. He said that would be acceptable, and my boss said, "Are you going to pay him his time for standing at the clock on company property?" CFO was about to say no when I guess his brain jumped into gear and realized he was about to suggest something illegal. I explained that I sent CFO an email explaining that this would happen, copied to my boss, and that he never responded. He was warned and still decided to stick to his guns. "Go ahead and edit your times," he said dejectedly. "Oh no, sir. He'll just keep doing what he's been doing. It balances out because he puts in so much extra work. It's only fair," says my boss. Now I get about an hour of OT and I'm left alone by the CFO. So glad I'm not salary. And our next story. Surgery still not in your right mind. This was about 10 years ago and thinking of, and it always makes me smile when I do. To shorten this up, I'll skip how this happened and say that I had a brain aneurysm bust in my head. This was a very large vessel that broke. My entire family was called and told if they wanted to say their goodbyes, they should. Somehow I lived, woke up in the ICU. I can't stress how badly I wanted out of this hospital. Why? I have no idea. But late the first night that I actually woke up, they moved me out of the ICU. Deciding this was my chance to get out of this torture chamber. It wasn't. These nurses were amazingly good. I get up to leave. Bam, hit the floor, can't walk, so I decide to do next best thing. I crawl and find a wheelchair. The entire time I was hiding from the nurses and was able to sneak by their main desk and got to the elevator. I still don't understand this, but for some reason I thought I smoked. So plan was to find a cig somewhere. Also, to give you an idea of how I looked, my head had been shaved bald, I had 89 staples in my head, and my left eye was completely closed due to the blood draining down from my brain. So I wheel out of the elevator on my mission to find a smoke. As I go out the door, I see two young women who I promptly ask for a cig. They give me a look that would melt steel and quickly inform me that as an employee of this hospital, I'm not allowed to smoke. I start laughing. They continue to educate me on how bad smoking is for you and that as an employee of a hospital, I should know this. What all they said, I still can't remember. All I heard was blah, 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 bad for you. But the insults kept getting worse and they were both getting more mad. I think the fact I was not giving them attention or acknowledging them. Finally, they got the point and left me alone. Or so I thought. A few minutes later, a man came out and luckily had a cig. Oh, the happiness I felt. Guy was nice enough to even light the thing for me. But my supervisors had just moved to the side of the building to keep an eye on me. As I went to take my first drag ever of a cig, here both comes on a run. No kidding, screaming, "You cannot smoke if you work here." I, in a wheelchair, take off. I hear we're going to find your boss. I go around hospital and find another entrance. This was a large hospital and I have no idea of where the hell my room is. I don't know how many different halls I went down, but finally a long hallway, 2 security guards on one end and 2 security guards and 2 very upset young Karens at the other, me in the middle screaming, "You will never take me alive." Not far behind those came my angel nurse with a look that shut me up and made me feel like my mom just caught me stealing cookies. I was escorted back to my room where my nurse made it extremely difficult for me to get out of that bed without warning her. I was informed the following day that these girls who kept saying I worked there and that I'd been acting, that they knew I worked there and they would not leave until I apologized to them. For what, I have no idea, and security had to escort them out. They took smoking very serious, LOL. And our last story. You can't park there. My own driveway. A water pipe cracked and was starting to overwhelm the street drains. UK, Yorkshire, water called. I left for dialysis. Came home to find a water leak. 4 vans had turned up, somehow made it worse. What was a medium-sized leak was now shooting water 2 feet into the air. With the street so full of cars and it being narrow, I backed into the driveway where my sis normally parks as I can't walk far, and I otherwise would have to park out the street and walk back about 200 feet. I can manage 40 on a good day. All the time I'm backing in, one of our new neighbors that rented the house across the street and a couple doors down was watching me looking more and more angry. I dragged my butt out of the car to hear her, "You can't park there. My husband was going to." I look at her, shrug, and lock up the car and go ask the contractor how long they think we'll be without water. They'd managed to hook my home to an backup supply due to my disability, thank heck. "Move your car now." I live here. It's my driveway. You ever park on it, I'll pay for a tow truck and have your car towed from my property. Karen looks at me with a grin. "Liar! The owner's car's green. Yours is red." "Oh yeah, that's my sister's car. I'll move mine when she gets home from work if she asks." She looks at me like a fish out of water, her mouth gaping as I enter my house and lock the door. I text my sister, tell her, and she replied to leave my car where it is and to make sure I did lock the door in case this new idiot tries something. OFC, she did knock on door a few times demanding I move so get husband can park there with her son's car on the drive to the house they renting. Only engagement she got from me was me angrily opening the upstairs window. I'm trying to sleep, you moron! Get off my property! You're trespassing and not welcome! Apparently she waited after that for my sis to come home from work and had to go at her. Thing is, my sis is a self-confessed Karen in her own right. I woke up to slot of screeching, a threat of the cops being called, and my sis telling her to leave, get disabled brother alone. I don't know what it is about the one place on my street that's a rental, but we keep getting Karens/entitled people moving in for 3 to 6 months at a time. Karen's husband seems cool, though. Came over and apologized and said he'll keep her under control as he works from home. So far, so good. Been quiet for a few days now. Guess I'll see what happens. Exploding water pipes and a Karen wrestling match? This sounds like a stellar day. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.